With Slightly Less Than Professional live stream number 52. I hope this is working. YouTube make it really, really difficult to stream this way around. They make it unnecessarily difficult. I don't know why. They make it far too complicated. I don't know why. They make it really difficult to take thumbnails this way around. I don't know. They just make things worse every single time they do them. So if there's no thumbnail and this is the wrong way around, then I apologise. I had an attempt earlier on which I've deleted, but yeah, it's very, very frustrating. I don't know how to fix this really. I've tried, and that's just the way that it is. So we had a bit of a problem earlier on today. So there were two different events that I was supposed to be attending, which would have resulted in two different videos on the channel. But I was not able to get content from either of them. One of the events I turned up, and it was well within the tolerance of the event. The event was supposed to run from 10 to 12. I arrived at 10:35, and most of the cars had already left. I think some of them get to the event at like 9:30 or something, but there's literally virtually nobody left there, and that's fair enough. It was a very, very wet day, and sometimes that just happens. Like people just leave shows early. Fair enough. It's miserable and grim. But then I went to a second event, and you know, the event hadn't been officially cancelled, but it didn't happen. So I waited there for about half an hour, and there was just nothing. So I had a very small amount of footage from the first one, and yet the thumbnail I've got is absolutely terrible because it wouldn't let me take a proper thumbnail before going live. I couldn't do it because the way that the live streaming works, it was frankly rubbish. It's just annoying. But so we're here sort of live instead. So I had to completely change my plans for next week because I have no real content from today, despite having attended two events, one of which basically everyone had left by the time I got there. And even though I arrived about 40 minutes after it officially started, and then the other one was it was cancelled with no notice. So instead you've got me this evening talking about the difficulties of trying to create content on an automotive YouTube channel in the winter. It is very difficult actually. I watched a video today from James Martin J on Cars, and he mentioned this, and it's true. Like revenue on YouTube in January is always down, like massively down from sort of November and December. So you're fighting a battle against that. Also, people are less willing to give you their cars in something like January or February because they've got them tucked away for the winter very often, and you go out and the weather's often not very good like it was today. And so you've got people who don't want to get out their cars, but also you've got not a lot of daylight to even sort of film whatever you're doing, and weather could be bad as well. And then you've got the other thing, which is that not many shows or events happen in January. So you've also then got to think, well, how do I actually kind of fill the schedule with what I've got? So I'm very blessed a lot of the time to be able to go down to places like, I don't know, Summit Garage in Dudley, LSB Car Sales in Thatcham, sometimes Lanny Prestige at Colchester, and they provide me with a number of cars to review, and I take every opportunity that I can to get as much as possible. And now some people say, oh, we don't want to watch videos on modern cars, they're really, really boring. If you look at the statistics on the channel that I have, that's not always kind of the way that it sort of is. I saw a video the other day from 2023, about 2 years ago, on a 2016 Mazda 3, which has had, I think it's something like 17 or 18,000 views. Whereas if I think about some stuff I filmed sort of that year as well, a lot of things that apparently are like sort of classic episodes of whatever I did haven't had nearly as many views. So it's just the way that it is. It's a very strange business, YouTube. It's very, very weird. I don't understand it. So when you make a video, you don't really know. You have an inkling, but you don't really know how something's going to go. You don't know. Sometimes you are convinced this is going to be the video that will change your entire channel and turn it around, and then you'll become like, I don't know, Beyond Seabrook or James Martin or Mr. Richardson or something like that, and it absolutely bombs. I've had quite a few, even this month, that have happened like that. Also, I've had some quite unexpected sort of successes, but you know, you never know. Literally, you don't know. Nobody knows. You can guess, but guessing doesn't really help particularly. So you just have to sort of keep going, and sometimes things will just kind of take off. I was surprised the other day to see, I think it was the 2018 Ford Cougar that I filmed a couple of years ago or something, and that's actually done quite well. I don't know why. I think I filmed it in December 2023 or something, and that's done quite well. I don't know. I forgot the comment section here. People have been tuning in. Thank you for everybody who is on here. I know it's been very short notice. It wasn't what I was expecting to see on the channel this evening either. Grumpy Talk. Oh, hello, sir. Yes, good evening. Stephen Wright says, good evening. Evening, sir. My mysterious benefactor, Braintree Music, says, good evening, sir. Till real out ready. We do actually have some lager here. So, yeah. We're going to have a little sip. I'm not using the can today because I've decided not to show brands of alcohol on my channel anymore. It's very nice. I like that. Said Freddy 300 says that I had to video still, but yeah, I have to actually re-edit that video slightly. So that time I haven't put it up yet, but we have a 1998 Daihatsu Grand Move on No Budget Reviews to put out, so that will go out at some point. I've actually re-edited that slightly. Need a little bit of tweaking that, but it is there. Grumpy Talk says it's been a very sunny winter. Yeah, it has been. There's other parts of the country where the weather's far worse than down here, actually, so there we go. Matthew Elliott says, evening all, evening sir. Mark from Bad Book says, good evening sir. Good evening to you as well, sir. Richard Hallett says, I'm off to work soon. Well, I hope it goes all right for you, sir. Grumpy talks, how about doing a meet-up at a local pub? Thing is about that, we did used to do that, but we didn't used to get a very big turnout for those, actually. It's very difficult to work out how many people were coming, because not a lot of people would necessarily say in advance, and they wouldn't necessarily do that. Vendor pubs wanted to know how people were coming, and you didn't know, so it was a bit difficult. We do have something behind the scenes that I've been invited to collaborate with, which might be happening some point soon. I haven't said anything about it because at the moment I don't know if it's happening or not. But if it does happen, it will be something like that. But we have to wait for that to actually kind of occur before I can tell you anything about it. Which hopefully by the time the channel update comes up in about a week's time or something, there'll be information about it, but I don't know if that's going to be finalised by then. Sid 3000 said we don't condone drinking on this channel. No, it's fine, as long as you don't drive or anything afterwards, it's fine. Right, there we go. So, yes, I mean, I tried... the latter half of last year, unfortunately, I did manage to get quite a number of videos done, some of which you didn't see in a good few weeks after they came out. I think one of them was filmed in November, didn't go up till January, so I do have a bit of a lead time in some of them. So when I filmed the car, you don't necessarily see it immediately. Now the Cortina was the exception to that, because one of my friends bought that Mr. Brisdian, who I did actually see today briefly, heading in the other direction away from the event that I was about to arrive at, in his Cortina, and I knew he just bought it. Now he's had a few cars on the channel before, one of which I own now, and so I decided to go and just ask him whether he'd let me film it, and he did, and the thing has completely sort of surpassed my expectations. That was filmed last week. I put it up almost immediately after I'd filmed it, I think within a couple of days. It's gone straight off the charts. Like the first Cortina I did, which I filmed in October 2023 and didn't release till January 2024. So sometimes I do have a lead in of of that kind of time. If I get my act together, I can do that sometimes. That didn't do nearly as well, but this one, for some reason, I don't quite know why, it's done much, much better. It's kind of slowed down a lot now, but it's had about 9,000 views, and like 9,000 views in just over a week is not what my channel normally does. You might get 9,000 views in a year. In fact, I think the second most popular video of the year um, actually actually ended up being about 9,000 views, I think it was. And that was within this course of months. So, you know, that's sort of interesting. So I don't know particularly why. I've got another car that I filmed a couple of days later that's also quite an old one. And also, it's quite rare. A lot of you might not even have heard of it, actually. Some of you will have done. But I don't think I've seen too many videos on YouTube of it. Whereas a lot of Cortina videos on YouTube, I don't know why particularly that one did better than the others. I mean, it wasn't filmed in a completely different way from everything else, but there we go. Mr. Chef says they are tightening. Sorry, no, are tightening MOT and tax regulations in April, making classic car ownership more difficult or easier. I have to look into that. I haven't seen too much about that so far. I have to look into that and you know, look at that a bit better. Sid Frederick asked, would you like to drive Mr. Seabrook's Ford Falcon? I don't know really, because I haven't really got anything to offer him that he would be interested in, I don't think. I don't think I have really. Once that Sunny's actually working again, which it probably will be in a couple of months, because Mr. Coleman's workshop that he normally uses isn't currently not functioning. Once that's back on the road, you know, I might send him an email again and offer it to him again. But I don't know. It depends if he's interested. Like he's a very, very busy person. He lives a long, long way from here, like a really long way from here. So either he or I have to drive a really long way to do that, and I don't think necessarily that like he's that fussed about it. I don't know. I could try getting in touch with him again and offering that to him and see if I could drive his Ford Fairmont, but I don't know. I'm not a bit funny about driving stuff like that. I tend to focus very much on like stuff that was sold in Britain. Maybe I'm a bit weird like that, but it doesn't interest me in some way that it does other people. I have made exceptions to that really, which is some of it you've seen. But yeah, I don't know why, but I am a bit funny like that. Don't quite know why. But there we go. Yeah, so we have some stuff coming up from even from like my trip to Lesby Car Sales last week. The first video's gone up with a set of Ibiza, which actually wasn't a bad car. Actually, that was pretty good. I've got others on there that are probably the videos are more entertaining, but you know, he's always got stuff for me down there. I don't get to go all the time because sometimes he's busy and sometimes like I've rinsed his selection quite comprehensively. This time I've rinsed pretty much all the petrol stuff he has. I've not filmed before. One thing I have to bear in mind is that because I've filmed something like 700 reviews on the channel, a lot of people don't even know that I've previously filmed that type of car. So if you do make a comment about type of car and to say you should film one of those in a video, you have to just have a look on the channel before you say that, because I might have actually done that before. I know that sounds really stupid, but it just saves me having to tell you like, yes, I filmed one of those in whatever year it was, which no, I shouldn't really need to do that. It makes me feel like I'm being, you know, like a bit strong if I'm doing that. But yeah, I've filmed an awful lot of stuff, and there's plenty more. There's loads. I don't think I'll ever run out. When I did the 2025 review wish list, which was earlier this month, I literally ticked one car off the list I'd made in 2024. So it'd always be very outstanding, and actually that video was incredibly unsuccessful in getting me any cars for review at all. It's ironic, isn't it? I got absolutely nobody offering me any cars doing that video. I'll do it again next year just for, you know, the sake of keeping my mind in track of like what I've actually filmed and what my aim is. But it's not a very successful way of getting cars, which ironically, I got offered just an email out of the blue offering me about 4 cars from someone else who lives quite locally to here, yesterday evening, and just like sometimes that just happened. I don't know why people decide to submit cars or not, or whatever. I don't know. You tell me, but you know, it can be very hard to get enough to keep going. We've got Summit Garage coming up again next month. I know a lot of you find the videos from there really boring. I think the cars are quite interesting that they have. They're always well presented there. So we're continuing to do them because running a channel is always kind of a balance between what you think is going to do well and what you want to do. I can't do at all everything I want to do because a lot of you would find it quite boring and keep telling me it was boring. Equally, I don't just want to do exactly what everyone says that I should be doing, because often what a lot of people say I should do doesn't really work very well, and also I'm not necessarily that interested. I remember someone saying I should try a 2CV. I don't really want to drive a 2CV. Like, I'm just not that interested in 2CV. Like, if you want to watch 2CV videos, then there's a certain Welsh-based channel that you can go and see. I just don't particularly find them very interesting. I've driven all kinds of other weird stuff on here. I mean, like, Alpha Moana stroke Nissan Cherry Europe. I mean, that was fantastic. I love that. But for whatever reason, and there's not many of those videos out there. There's only 2 other people I know who have driven one. And you will know exactly who they are. The one I did, it just sort of sank without a trace. So you never know, like, when you get offered something that's like as unique as a Nissan Cherry Europe, of which there are 2 on the road, whether that's going to get any interest whatsoever. The Alpha 90 video, I think I'm one of the only people to ever drive an Alfa Romeo 90 in this country on YouTube. The only other person is Mr. Richardson Furious Driving, because he filmed the video for me and he then filmed his own video on the same day. So it's not like I get really, really rare stuff. Hyundai Stella was another example as well. I think Ian Seabrooks might be the only other person who's done a review of one of those in this country, in contemporary times. But it did sort of moderately well. So you just never know. And then videos like I don't know, Mr. Bill and I went to a dealership in Salisbury in 2023, and we filmed a brand new Dacia Jogger. And we didn't know what was going to happen, but it turned out to be the best video entirely of the year. So everything's got a fair chance. As I said, I think at one point when we were doing the analytics from 2024, like there's a video of a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid that was from 2014 that I filmed December 2023, and that had like 7,000, 8,000 views or something. I just sort of took off, and we still don't know why. I asked the chap who owns it, like, is there anything about it you thought that might be interesting? But there we go. It's a very strange business doing this job. It's very, very strange. Sid 3300 makes a very good point, but 2CV is very well covered on YouTube. Mr. Chefs, I'd like to do a review of Mitsubishi Cordia Turbo. The Mitsubishi Cordia Turbo is such a rare car. There is one I've ever seen in my life, and it comes to Festival exceptional actually. I've seen it there many times. Like, the only hope with that is like somehow the owner watches one of the million shambolic shuffles I do when I do that event, sends me an email and offers it to the review. Like, that's how most of it works. I have a limited amount of people I can ask to provide me with cars. If I don't go to like Summit Garage or SB Car Sales or like Prestige, I have a limited number of people who sometimes get new cars, and sometimes I'll say, you've got this, and then can I film it, which is the case with the Cortina. I filmed that about a week after Mr. Brisbane had picked it up, so it was absolutely fresh, but the price you paid for it is exactly what one of those is now worth, because that was this month. But I can't always do that. Often people will send me messages or whatever and say, I've got this, can I film it? You want to film it? And about 98% of the time it's yes, but if I've done one that's really similar, so there's a gentleman I know who's got a Karoq I filmed in 2020, and he's just got another Karoq, but I'd already filmed a 2023 Karoq in 2024, and this is just really similar. It's too similar. Like, there's nothing to say about his new Karoq what I haven't said about the other Karoq that I filmed in January 2024. I don't think there's anything to say, so I had to say, well, there's nothing to say about it, but I haven't said. If it's a little bit different, or it's been a long time since I filmed something, then I might. And actually, Mr. Bill's Renault Megane Classic, it had been almost 4 years since I filmed it in November 2024 when I did it, and it had been considerably improved. So it was the same car we did actually film it. It's the first time I've ever reviewed the same car twice. I've never done that before, and actually it was all right. It felt good. I might do that again. But you know, I have stuff that gets sort of offered, and generally I'm quite good at keeping track of things that are going on. But because if the cars are like right over end of the country, then it's obviously not more difficult for me to get there. So the trip to Newcastle I did, I packed an awful lot into a couple of days, because there's stuff in that area. You know, it's something like 6 to 7 hours from here by car, and so it requires an awful lot of planning and expense. So you want to make sure that if you do a trip like that, actually, that you kind of pack it in properly. Otherwise, it's just not very economical to do it. And you know, it was sort of fun flying up there and having a hire car and stuff. But I made sure within the limited amount of time I had, I filmed as much as possible. I think I filmed 8 videos in 2 days, and I did a lot of driving in that as well to make sure that happened. But trying to balance that sort of together is very, very difficult. I mean, you know, a lot of people will not go sort of that far to review cars because it's not viable economically for them to do it, and I understand that. Oh, there's some good ones here. Sid Freddy just said someone on the Rustable group is a Sherrard Saloon. That sounds like my kind of thing. Yeah, Sherrard Saloon would be absolutely the kind of thing that I like. Mr. Chef said the Fit Recorder is only available here on a wide and A plate, so only in 1983. My mysterious benefactor Braintree Music says, "Sir, do you think you'll go to Festival Exceptional?" Now, I've been toying with this, and the problem is that it's a long way from here. I mean, it's a long way from like virtually everyone. I think Festival Exceptional. They just generally kind of like accept it, but it's a long way from everywhere. But I have been thinking about this. I've been asking my lady wife about this as well, because she wasn't particularly happy with a number of events I visited last summer. I visited more than ever, and I don't think she likes me going away as much as I did. You know, lady wives kind of need time spent with lady wives. Otherwise, you tend to then not have a very unhappy lady wife. She kind of said, "Don't you just want to go to Bromley Pageant instead?" And it's a really difficult thing, because Bromley Pageant is one day after Festival Exceptional. It's one day, and like if you've done 9 videos on that day, you're gonna do another 9 videos about 4 hours away from the previous day, where you're still trying to edit the ones you've got so far. It's just impossible. Like you know, after I've done 9 to 10 videos in a day of Shambolic Shuffle, my brain is absolutely dead, and then I've got to spend hours and hours and hours getting all those videos onto the computer, rendering them, uploading them, and that sort of stuff. And it's just, maybe someone else who's like superhuman can do that, but I won't be able to do both of those events. I don't think I'll be able to, so I'm going to have to choose. Bromley Pageant is a huge event. It's massive, and if anything, it used to be bigger than Festival and Exceptional. I know some of you won't believe that, but it was. Like, when I used to do Bromley Pageant, I would not get around it. It's not possible to cover the whole event. I mean, I have probably the most comprehensive coverage of anybody who does events in this country, because I'm an absolute and utter glutton for punishment. That's why most people don't do it in that way. But I cannot get around it. Like, you know, by the time I get to about part 8, a lot of people have left. Even if I start right at the beginning, I keep going and don't take breaks, which is very, very difficult. If it's sort of hot and you like it, you know, you're dehydrated and you haven't eaten anything, trying to keep going and film, you know, hundreds of cars, it's quite difficult. So, because there's a way I film things, like if I was filming like little random silent bits and making 15-minute videos per event, then you might be able to cover both of them if you have this way of doing things. And sometimes Richardson Videos Driving does. He can do that sort of thing. Like, he can do one video of like the entire NEC, which I can't do that. I just don't have the patience and the kind of sort of filter in my head of which bits to film that I'd be interested in including in my 45-minute single video, which is he does, and the hours of patience to edit it. I don't have that kind of patience. So yeah, it's just the way that it goes. Like, I can't. My brain actually probably do that. It's just too tired and exhausted. So I'm gonna have to choose between those two, and I think it's probably, despite the fact that economically, it makes no sense whatsoever to do Festival Exceptional as opposed to Bromley Padding. It's so much further away. I probably would prefer to do Festival Exceptional because I enjoy it quite a lot, even though I'm not participating in any of the kind of sort of stuff that's happening at the other end. Like, I'm not in the concourse section. I'm not on the stage. I can't be on the stage anyway. Like, if somebody asked me, I'd have to turn it down because my priority there is not to talk to an audience of, from a point of view of like someone thinks I'm sort of expert at something which I'm not. Um, I'd much rather get round in the way that I need to do because there are so many people who said to me over the course of a really long time, I like watching your videos because I can't get there. I physically can't get there. I'm busy. I can't afford it. A lot of people say that sort of thing to me. And so the videos might not be very good. They're definitely not very good in comparison with many other channels. But they cover more because I push myself to do it. And that's the sort of thing which makes them different. And I'm very happy about to do that. It's just I had to be sort of get round and kind of, like not be interrupted and, things like that. And just be left to do what I need to do to be able to do things in a way that I like. Which probably costs me views, it probably costs me money, but I do it in the way that I do it because there we go. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. Probably have to leave Bromley Pageant, much as I don't want to, but they are holding it in a completely different site, a completely different time of year from what it used to be. So it's not really surprising. Festival Exceptional's now taken residents in that slot in the year, and you can't do every show because there are about a million ones that clash even if you went to every single one throughout the summer every weekend, which I can't do because my lady wife would probably divorce me if I do that. So there we go. Sid Freddy Rangers, there's Rustival 3 will be in the summer. Yeah, it's 30th of August. I'm aware of that. I absolutely am. I'm aware of that. And we will be, I think we'll be booking in when it goes live. I better book my accommodation actually for that as well. Matthew Elliott says, during your travels, have you formed any views on differing levels of driving or courtesy behaviour around the country and what much the same? If you drive within Greater London and you have your compliant car because the Mayor of London says there's certain ones you can't talk about on the channel, then you do find that driving in London is very different from other places. But you can get like absolute idiots all over the place. You can get really kind drivers all over the place. Yesterday, we were in a walk somewhere in Berkshire, and there were a group of about 30 of us in this walking group, and I was really surprised that a BMW driver let us cross the road. It was in an X3, and I was thinking, like, out of all the cars that I thought would want to let out a group of 30 walkers crossing a road, it wouldn't be a BMW. But it was, so there you go. There are very kind people wherever you are. So my mysterious benefactor from Braintree Music asked, Festival Exceptional, is it vital for YouTube under some views, videos go up as soon as possible, or they still get up the same views a few weeks later? The thing is, there are so many channels filming an event like Festival Exceptional now, and a lot of them are very big channels, but you would have heard of them, that if you want to stand any chance, unless you're one of these big channels, of getting the views, you have to get them up as quickly as you can. Because if you don't, someone else will. And some people even live stream from the actual event. So you just got to, if you want to get anything, you have to get it up as soon as possible. You have to. I've put it with many people, you have to do things a certain way to do it. Grumpy Talk says, I missed Festival Exceptional this year, so I must think I should go this year. Yeah, it's a long way from where you are, I know that. We're going to Rustival end of August. Yeah, I think Rustival is not as big an event as Festival Exceptional. People kind of sometimes say to me, that event's too big. It's not. Festival Exceptional's bigger, probably packed even bigger. The only way I know this is because the way I film means that I know exactly how big an event is. If you film virtually everything there, and you don't kind of filter it in your head that you are going to be selective, or you edit it down, which I don't, then you know exactly how big every event is. I think I got asked this by somebody when I was at NEC, very kindly a lot of the time, Mr. Richardson allowed me to put my stuff on his stand and just to look after it for me whilst I go around, because I don't want to have to carry around all my film equipment with me the entire day. And I remember being asked on there by a couple of people, like, have you seen this car, this car? Is it here? And I just said, well, I've actually filmed every car I could talk about, because I've come to the end by now, I'm on part 21 or something, and I don't think that car's here. So sometimes I can tell, from my own absolute utter stupidity, I can tell you what's going on. I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea to sit there for, I think in the case of this, it was about 12 hours of video I made, about 12 hours or something. You put them end to end, which would suddenly send you to sleep. So, yeah, sometimes I know, like, about stuff that other people don't, but some people I've had to actually physically put the miles in, and it is miles sometimes. That stuff is wherever it is. It's not a very glamorous thing. Like, you think every show's exciting and glamorous. I mean, it can be exciting. It's not glamorous. It's not glamorous at all. Most of it when I'm going to a show involves finding accommodation that's quite cheap and spending the evenings trying to edit the videos and responding to comments and answering emails and whatever else as I have to do the day, because obviously if I go to a show, then I'm not doing my other job as well, so I have to do that around that too. It's a balance that most people on YouTube have to do, because most people don't have over 100,000 subscribers, and that's not their entire job. It's not mine. But people who are in that category, like, I think Steve Brooks' videos are amazing. I think Mr. Richardson's videos are amazing. I love James Martin's videos. I love Jack Thompson's videos, just to name some examples. And they're all people who do it sort of effectively full time, although with Mr. Richardson he's still doing automatic photography work. The others sort of do sort of other bits as well. But the majority of people who see the sort of, I'd say under like 50,000 subscribers, they're still doing another job as well, and that's the case with me as well. There's other work that I also do, otherwise I wouldn't be able to keep a channel running. So yeah, you've got to bear in mind that a lot of people who you see, they are doing this out of like effectively like part time or spare time or whatever, and so they do it because they like it. They wouldn't do it otherwise, because it doesn't pay for most people to do it. It doesn't. But I do it because I like it. My lady wife would in some ways like me to do less of it, because then she see me a bit more. But I like it very much, and we've come to an understanding that actually, like, we have sort of good boundaries, and we balance and compromise and things like that for this year. Stuart with Matt Guy and a Firebird actually lives quite locally to me, actually. I happened to bump into him in the car park at Sainsbury's recently, with my lady wife, and he actually has offered me a go in one of his cars, which I think will be good, because it's actually it's a rare type of car now. Actually, it's rare in itself, but the particular version that he has is even rarer. So I think a lot of you will quite enjoy that video. So at some point, Stuart will allow me to have a go in it, and we will bring the video to YouTube, and we'll allow you to make up your mind about it. So Agent Barry, like I've said, the Alpha 5 is here, all the way from America, I presume. Hello, sir. So yeah, what we're going to do is, obviously, like tonight, this is taking the place of a video I was going to film at one event I was attending today. I have got some footage of that event, but it's very limited, so it will go into a very vague vlog next week. And the other event was just postponed entirely, because of weather, I think. So I will also be making a video like on Wednesday, when I've actually had enough sort of questions to answer. The questions I've had so far are actually quite good. Now there is one somebody asked me a little bit earlier on, but I don't think I answered it, because actually the answer is quite long to this. Was it about electric cars or something? Where's it gone? Somebody asked me about what are your views on electric cars or something. I think I thought it was here. It doesn't seem to be here anymore. I'm making it up or something. Um, um, yeah, I made it up. Yeah, but somebody asked me about that, and the answer to that is sort of like, well, I think the third review ever on the channel was an electric car. It was in 2016 BMW i3, and one of my oldest friends I've known for 35 years is an electric car enthusiast, and actually his 2019 MG ZS EV that he bought in September 2019, he was the first retail customer ever to get one of those cars, the very first. And I filmed it in October, yeah, October 2019. I filmed that, and we got thrown out of Hatfield House car park filming that. It was quite funny. We had to film some bits of it somewhere else. But yeah, that ended up being a really successful video, and I went to the press launch of that car in July 2019. I think actually it's quite funny. He'd already placed his order for it, but when I got the video out, and it was one of my very first ever viral videos, he was then saying thank you that you've actually convinced me to go ahead with my order of the car, because nobody had driven it apart from MG employees until that day. And I was very blessed to be invited by the Planet Auto channel to go and cover that event, because they were covering two events on the same day and they couldn't actually cover both. So I helped cover one of them. And so at the time, that was an absolutely fundamental shift in electric cars. Now, things are very, very different now. What do I think about them now? I've not actually driven one for quite some time. I probably need to drive a couple more of them. But the ones I drove, the MG5 X-Power that I drove in 2023 was a fantastic car. I couldn't believe how fast it was, how much power it had. I don't tend to do too many, not because I don't want to, it's simply because I don't really want people just constantly making the same old complaints in the comment section about the fact, well, they don't like them and this is it, and whatever. So, well, there are some people who do like them. I don't own one. I don't necessarily have any plans to own one in the moment, but I believe in giving them a bit of a fair chance. We've had them on there, around for a while, and actually, some of them are quite interesting. I know in Secret when he drove the Dacia Spring electric car, which I'd like to drive one of those at some point. I mean, I'm not going to make it a priority for the channel for the simple reason that you can go to watch electrifying or fully charged or something like that, and you want to have electric car content from people who are electric car enthusiasts, then you can go on there. And obviously, like my best friend is one, and I've driven quite a few of his cars actually, and I quite like some of them. I don't like all of them, but I don't like all cars anyway. So, you don't have to sort of, if you don't like them, then spend ages of ranting in comment sections on YouTube videos that you don't. Otherwise, like you just get people get annoyed and you get them removed. You don't have to watch stuff like that. But I probably will have a look at one or two this year, for the simple reason that I haven't done any in a while. I was thinking actually back in September when I was at the SMMT event, where there were lots of other electric cars I could have tried, of having a go in the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. The reason I didn't do that was because the day was very difficult to film anyway. I mean, people keep complaining you now about sound quality, which is a bit annoying because that was due to the torrential rain against the windscreen of all the cars, and in fact I had 35 minutes per car to make a full review. I challenge most of you to try to make a coherent video on a brand new car in 35 minutes in torrential rain. It's quite difficult. But I thought of doing the Ioniq 5N, but the problem is I saw the list price of it, and I thought I'm really more of a channel that reviews Kia Picantos than £66,000 electric Hyundais. I think I am. So if I did that, do I really want a load of people complaining that I've sold out and I want to see rubbish old bangers on no budget reviews and I don't want to see this kind of stuff. And as I said sort of before, it's kind of you have to sort of have this kind of mentality. Is it better to do what you want to do or is it better to do what you think people want to see? And there is no particular answer to that question. It's very difficult to know, and everybody who has a channel, well, it doesn't matter what it's about, has to actually go through that process themselves. And sometimes even people who are desperate to see something, the videos don't do very well. They just like wanted to do something, whatever, but they don't do very well. So it's a very difficult thing to do, and I find it an interesting challenge to find out. But I think if I sort of had been in the same situation again, I probably would have done it. But I don't know how I would have sort of coped with all the sort of criticism of the fact that I've sold out and things like that, which I haven't done particularly, because I've reviewed other very expensive cars before. But it's just for some reason that one might have been a bit more of a problem. Agent Barry from the Chatham City Alpha 5 says, we sold our Trans Am at Barrett Jackson last week. All well is here apart from the ice and snow. Yeah, I imagine it's pretty bad there. My mysterious benefit, Braintree Music, says, do you think there's an overrated manufacturer of cars, and which Italian manufacturer is it? That sounds like a very loaded question, sir. Overrated manufacturer of cars. I think possibly Audi and BMW, because they are like amongst the best-selling brands of car in this country. They're in the top 5, and yet they're kind of still seen as like exclusive cars, and they're not. They're far more common than a Ford or a Citroen or a Vauxhall a lot of the time. Ford is not a common brand in this country anymore. It's slipping all the time, which is a shame, but that seems to be what's happening with them. So yeah, I'd say they're more for me. Those cars are more overrated. When you could just buy, I don't know, a Seat or a Skoda, would sort of do the same sort of thing as a Volkswagen most of the time as well. Drybook says, you never please everyone, seem like I was pleased myself. Yeah, it's a good point, but like, if I literally only made videos that the type I wanted to make, a lot of you would find the channel really quite boring. There's a video I made last February, which is about a stretch of abandoned road in Winchester, the A333, and I wanted to make it simply because I wanted to make it. And it doesn't do particularly well or anything, but I knew it wouldn't. I did it because I wanted to do it. And really, if I just literally did that sort of thing, it would be a different type of channel probably. So there are some cars that I will just sort of do, of videos I'll go to because I know that they do well. I don't particularly necessarily find the NEC Classic Car Show the easiest thing to do. I don't enjoy it necessarily as much as my events I do, but I do it because for most of the years that I've been running this channel, that is the most successful month of them all. That is the most successful video series of them all. And so I do it because I consider it to be a challenge to do it every year, and it is a real challenge. And also I know that actually a lot of you want to see videos from there, so you have to think about this sort of thing. Also, you've got to think about if a video is going to be really expensive to make, like, should you do it? Like, so if, for example, I make Tweed Jacket reviews, and the video that my mysterious benefactor allowed us to make, supplying that Ford Crown Victoria back in December, was much more expensive to make than virtually every video that was made the whole year, and it didn't do particularly well. Like the Rolls Royce that I filmed about the same time, that did a lot better, and that was much cheaper to make, and yet that was much more successful. So, right at the beginning of the channel, I only really wanted to make Tweed Jacket review. I didn't want to make any other form of content. The problem was I had to pay quite a lot of money for every single episode to be filmed and edited. And really, in some ways, I wish I'd sort of stuck to it, because then we would have had a very high quality series of videos, and not many of them, but they would have been much better quality, instead of ended up with a load of quite poor videos, and yet quite a lot of them. And some of them, despite the fact they're not particularly good quality, tend to do quite well. So YouTube's a very funny place. Like, the amount of money and the amount of time you spend doing something is often no way proportional to the success you get. And that's just the way that it is. And that will be the case probably forever. And it's very frustrating when you do make videos. This is the case for everyone who does. that like the ones you put the most effort into, ones you want to make, don't necessarily do particularly well. Yeah. So there we go. So what have we got? Any other sort of comments in here? Stuart from Matt Garden Firebird says, "It's good to try to do things on channel from time to time. The bus ride video was a nice diversion. The thing was, like, that video only came about because the Lockheath event on New Year's Day was postponed. I knew that event was happening. It wasn't what I set out to do when I woke up that morning, but we did it because I knew it was there, and I plugged a gap in content for me, and it was all right. It was quite good fun. Weather was absolutely appalling like it is today, but there we go. Well, this is a very, very good question from my mysterious benefactor, Braintree Music. If I had £6,000 to spend on a 90s, 2000s, 2020 replacement for the Volvo, what car would I buy? The thing is that, like, you could buy quite a few cars for that sort of money. And the thing is that, is this like for like? Is this a car from the same era, for the same amount of money? Because that Volvo is only worth about £2,000 on a good day. So, do we not just spend all our money or buy 3 separate cars, or do we want to buy just one? And I can tell you exactly what probably would buy for £6,000, and I've looked this up. It would be a last generation Mazda 3 Saloon. Mazda 3 genuinely was one of the best cars I filmed in 2023. Filmed it right at the start of the year. The other two that were particularly good were the 2 Lexus ISs I filmed. One belonged to Mr. Maddie's Cars, and the second one belongs to a chap I know in Huddersfield, and his IS250 was amazing. I couldn't believe the IS250 that you could pick it up for no budget reviews money, but you could. His is worth a lot more than that, but the only problem is with sort of that was the fact that the rear space was quite poor, and so was the rear visibility. Apart from that, there really wasn't anything wrong with it. Not at all. And that was, they're really, really good cars, those. And the IS200s, the older ones, are also really good. You might say that they're a bit better. They're a little bit lighter, but they tend to rust quite badly, the original IS200s. If you're going for something in the middle, you'd be looking at something like a CL9 Honda Accord, or the Toyota Avensis I drove at the end of last year. Now that, again, was genuinely one of the best cars I drove in 2024, that Toyota Avensis. So 2012, last generation one. Now I'd have, if it were me, I might go for the estate version or whatever it's called, and go for a manual gearbox. But apart from that, there's not really much wrong with those. The only thing is they do rust a little bit, and they've got electronic handbrake, and I hate electronic handbrakes. I think they're terrible. But, you know, that would be probably the sort of thing I'd be looking at, something like that. There's a lot of other cars you could consider, but, you know, those would be the ones I would sort of think of. It's a good question, sir, that one. Right, do we have any other sort of things that are going for? Obviously, you can, if you're watching this on a catch-up or something, then, you can submit questions for the video that I'm going to make in a few days' time, which sort of goes into probably a bit more detail about some of these things. And yes, I had to have my hair cut. It was getting incredibly long, and so I had my lady wife remove it for me, and I feel much better now. Right. Well, I think that's sort of it then. We've had sort of quite an enjoyable evening, really. You know, people have been very. Oh no! Here we go. Oh, we can't not let this question. Agent Barry, like I said, Alpha 5 says Montego or Maestro. It's actually a really easy question to answer because the Montegos drive a lot better than Maestros. Now they're very similar underneath, but the Montego's got a little bit more. It's a bit longer in the wheelbase, and they do drive better. You can also get a much better choice of specifications with a Montego. So you can get an estate or a saloon, but you can also get a 2-litre injection engine or carb engine with either automatic or manual transmission, and you could have that in something that's not an MG. So you could have a Mayfair, you could have a Vanden Plas, you could have a GSI, a Countryman, loads of different 2 litre models, and they drive better. A lot of the 2 litre ones have the Honda PG9 manual gearbox in them. And so, absolutely, I'd have a Montego tomorrow if I could find the right specification. Obviously, for me, it's got to be one with a leather interior, beige leather interior. So that really is only a GSI or a Vanden Plas. And the Vanden Plas are delightful. I did a walk around of one, a Concours Vanden Plas Montego in 2022. Now, fortunately, I have been offered another Montego Vanden Plas. Someone I know has one. It's not currently on the road. It's an automatic, and it has a beige leather interior. I'm thinking at some point in my life I need to own something like that. If his one's not too tatty, at some point I might say to him, you know, like, how much do you want for it? You know, maybe at some point we'll do a deal on it. I don't know if that will actually ever happen because I think he's quite fond of it. So I don't know if we'll be able to do that. But, you know, that is 100%. They're much better cars than the Maestros. Maestros aren't bad. I've driven loads of them. I think it's about 7 or 8 now of them. That might not be the last one I drive either, that old police car. But yeah, you know, there we go. You know, the Montegos are still quite problematic cars. Maestros are quite quite problematic as well. So, you know, they were when they were new, and trying to find decent ones is quite hard now. But I still kind of want one because I'm a strange person. I don't know, my mysterious benefactor has asked me what will I replace for Samuel Tivoli. I think we know exactly what we're going to replace it with, it's just a question of when. We don't necessarily want another Tivoli, not necessarily. The thing is, like, even in Sanyong, and there's a very vague log coming up about this, I think it's this week, they are starting to become a different company from what they were. And it's not surprising because they're called KGM now, and KG Group, who owned them, are trying to get away from the old Mahindra days. So they are making cars that are quite a lot more expensive than they used to be, like everyone else is. And I'm not necessarily that fussed about a lot of the stuff they're putting out. So we would buy something else. I think, and I've said this before, probably a Kia Ceed SW after the 2022-2023 facelift. It would have to be a top spec one with a manual gearbox. I think literally probably that's just what I'm going to buy. I don't think I'd be considering anything else. I think I'll just buy one because I've driven 2 of those. I've driven an earlier 1 litre one of those on the channel to sort of try it out, and it was a bit basic for me. And I've driven a Kia Exceed that had the right engine and gearbox in it. It was a really high spec one, and that was fantastic as well. So you put those together and that's what you got, and you get a nice warranty, load of space and everything. I don't think really there's any doubt in my mind that that is probably what we're going to replace it with. It's just a question of when, and the Tivoli's still under warranty for something like 18 months or something. And Mr. Coleman looks after it for us, and so does his uncle at the garage. You know, doing whatever we kind of need to do to it, use the genuine parts as far as that we can, and make it sure it's serviced. And apart from that, it's done now 53,000 miles, and I don't see a reason particularly to get rid of it at the moment, apart from the fact the warranty's going to expire in 18 months, and that's about it. I think by then it will be the car I've owned the longest out of any car I've ever owned, which sort of says quite a lot about it, and my lady wife is reasonably fond of it, so I know that's a very, very boring answer to most of you. You probably expected me to say, like, you know, I don't want to buy like a Daewoo and keep that every day or something, but you know, Daewoo's are fun, but I don't think they would necessarily be the best choice in that way. So I think that's about it. We've been on for almost an hour. Yes, and Mark from Bad Books mentioned the Montego Vanden Plas with beige leather interior. Yes, obviously the best type of Montego you could possibly ever get. So thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the stream, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for another one of these whenever we need one.